Uh-oh. Try that again. Hello.
Hey, Jarlene.
Hey. All right. We are live on a Wednesday in the middle of the day. It's Jerlene, Talk of the Town, going live, little experiment. Today I am joined by Carlos Ovalle. So I don't know if anyone like actually read my little introduction before, but I'm gonna read it. He's gonna get to introduce himself, but I was kind of impressed with my summary of Mr. Ovalle. So architect, cyclist, inventor, socialist, environmentalist, known as an agitator in the city of Long Beach, someone who has made it their mission to seek accountability and transparency from local government. How you doing, Mr. Carlos?
Fantastic.
Yay. You're like chilling outside right now.
It's a beautiful day, and I'm really fortunate to have this background.
Wow. And then it's real. Like you can like
Yes.
it's not virtual. It's virtual. I'm kind of scared to go outside these days. No. Actually, I did go outside today. So thank you for joining me today. I am going to take just a moment to make sure that we are streaming live on various. Yes, I see us. Folks, if you are joining us today in the middle of the afternoon on a Wednesday, please give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you're here. We've been trying to do this for a while, so I'm actually really excited, but honestly, I don't even know what we should chat about today. Like I know we chatted a little bit earlier in the week or last week or sometime we chatted about different things going on in the city. I know, like I said, you have the reputation of being an agitator. I labeled you good troublemaker. So that's my label for you. But go ahead, tell everybody who you are. Again, I'm Jerlene. I'm a community member. I guess I'm a good troublemaker too, joined by another good troublemaker. So Carlos, just tell people who you are, and then we'll jump into some discussion.
Speaking of trouble, my signature for a long time was I would always sign off with in my emails with "in good trouble." Uh, Obviously, a reference to the late John Lewis.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we all do good trouble, and it's some people label us as agitators, as complainers, as whatever, but we have to make good trouble. Nothing changes if it doesn't start out with an idea, and often the idea is in the form of a complaint. You identify the problem and then you solve it. Um, so, so introduction. I mean, other than those adjectives that you gave, a lot of politicians and a lot of the cheerleaders for the politicians have a few more uh, ways to describe me that I probably shouldn't. I probably shouldn't dare, and I'm sure you get some of those terms used against you as well. And it's all good. It's all good. I was born in Guatemala in 1958, um, and ended up emigrating to the U.S. Under not so happy circumstances. There were a couple of attempts against my dad's life. Um, he was a union member, and one of those, both of those attempts on his life ended up with him being in the hospital. The last time they tried to decapitate him with a machete, and they basically gave him an ear to ear grin. Literally, the machete entered here, cut across, and out the other side. His tongue was left hanging by the little tissue underneath the tongue, and teeth knocked out, etc. He managed to survive that, and as a result of that, we ended up here as involuntary tourists. Um,
Oh,
so,
wow.
so we got here in 1968. Lived in Wilmington for a while. That was our first home, and uh, then in '72 we moved to Long Beach, in this same neighborhood where I am right now, Wrigley, and have been here ever since with some minor interruptions. You know, Lived for a little bit um, in the uh, uh, what is it called, over on I guess it's Alabitos Beach
Mhm.
neighborhood for maybe a year, and then
Oh.
later on lived in Koreatown for about a year. But this has always been home, and I'm here with my family.
Mhm. So you're vested. You're a vested community member. Um,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. This
So I
is
but I but I see you got troublemaker in your DNA. If your dad was,
yes,
fighting for social justice is in your okay, okay. All
yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
Wow. I've been following you on social media for I think a couple years now. And so honestly, I think that's the most I've learned about you in that time period. So yeah, I've trolled you. I tried to find out who you were, but I haven't found anything. So thanks for sharing that. Wow. So a couple things I had wanted to share. So you are so much of a troublemaker that someone took your profile and created a fake Facebook profile last year during campaign
Yeah,
season. That's
yeah.
how we met. That's how we connected with each other
That's
because
that's
because
right.
I yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm like because I basically was like, if this isn't you, are you okay with this?
No, obviously not okay, but I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
But I have a couple of friends or people. They're actually not my friends, acquaintances that I don't know what they study, sociology or who knows. Maybe they're FBI profilers. Who the hell knows? But They contacted me on Facebook and they said, "We think we know who the perpetrator is based on the language, based on the terms they use, and also based on the content." And
Mhm,
so I'm
mhm.
not going to name names,
Yeah, please. Let's not do
but
that. I'm not look, I'm not insured.
but anyway, it doesn't really matter. I don't hide. Who I am. People know me. In fact, when I write emails to the politicians, I always, it's the same email that I use for my work, for
Mhm,
personal use, and I even give out my phone number because I am not afraid. You know,
mhm,
no matter how bad uh, this city gets or this country gets, it'll never be as bad, hopefully, as the Banana Republic that I came from. So,
uh-huh.
um, anyway, yeah, I remember that. I remember that fake profile.
You already got a fan. They said you're a pistol, smart pistol, and sometimes humorous. So, but yeah, but that was how we met. So that I guess, like I said, you got street cred. Let's use your face. Okay, so we talk like there's so much going on right now, and I
Yes.
guess we can kind of interweave like some of those labels some of those label, what was it, adjectives that you have to some of the things that are going on. One thing that I've noticed a lot of conversation coming from you is the River Park project. That's one thing. There's been conversation around the Wrigley Green Belt. I actually
Yes.
went there today and took a look at that, and left me with a lot of questions. Um, I know you've been vocal on what is it? The Community Policing Complaint
Police Complaint Commission.
Commission.
Citizens Police Complaint
Citizens
Commission. Yes.
complaint commissions. I know you've been vocal on that. I remember during the framework process last year, the city of Long Beach, when they were
Mm,
rolling out or whatever they were doing with the framework for reconciliation, you and I were echoing the same question. What are we reconciling? I'm still waiting on answer for that.
yes.
Um,
Yes. Exactly.
so today, like what's your top topic? Like what's burning on your soul today?
If I could be awake 24 hours a day, there are just so many things happening all over the place, but particularly in Long Beach, to which we need to pay attention. But I guess one of the central things has to do with the neighborhood I live in.
Mhm.
The area that I live, that you and I live in, is it's called the Diesel Death Corridor. So I'm a personal story that always makes me choke up. So I'll do my best. Um, I have four brothers, younger brothers. Um, my parents are not around anymore. My mother passed away in my arms, vomiting um, uh, black blood because her insides were rotting out from two types of cancers. My dad passed away in my arms, gasping for breath, like a little goldfish that gets taken out of water because he had pulmonary fibrosis. Uh, One of my younger brothers, a medical doctor who has worked most of his life providing medicine for the underprivileged, has exceeded his life expectancy. He has brain cancer. Uh, Another brother has went has finally was finally cleared of leukemia. He underwent 10 years of chemotherapy. So that's kind of, and then I have issues as well: neurological, endocrinological, cancer, and other stuff. And this is we're not unique. We have friends and family in the neighborhood who have endured this and worse conditions. Uh, all of it has been determined to be environmental and not hereditary. And so my main mission in life is to do something about that. I don't. I'm staying in the diesel death quarters so that I can fight and make a better life for my friends and neighbors and family. And so one of those is to increase the amount of green space. We have this Parks and Recreation divides the city into four sectors: northeast, south, and west. We live in the western sector.
Mhm.
You live, I believe, you're in what's called the south sector, and just north of the 405 freeway is the north sector. So the east has 17 acres of parkland per thousand residents. So 17 acres per thousand residents. We have one. The north has one. The south has 2.8. So obviously, it's a horrible situation for us. The forests are the lungs of our community. uh, and having a lack of parks and open space means that we're living with a fraction of a lung. We can't breathe. literally. Um, one of my issues is asthma. You know, so and we have one of the highest incidences of asthma in California, right here in the diesel death quarter, which is one of the most polluted areas in the entire nation. So anyway, my interest is in creating parks and open space, and in all of the western Long Beach, which includes north, west, and south.
Well, how can we have more open space if there's not the real estate for it?
Well, there is. Uh, the it's not an issue of availability of real estate. It's a lack of will on the part of our city leadership. So the city approved unanimously the Riverlink plan back in 2015, which they had approved earlier than that. In fact, the city had created it years before, and one of many different plans that have been created for this area along the 710 freeway and along the LA River. And so they've had workshops, they've created some beautiful plans, but when it actually comes to putting your money where your mouth is, all of a sudden they scramble away. And that's what happened just recently with the area that was formerly the golf driving range, and
Mhm.
just north of the 405, and along the LA River, and and immediately south of the 405 is the former oil operators' land. Both of
Mhm.
those pieces used to be one single entity, uh, where they stored and processed all sorts of uh, waste products from the oil drilling industry. We feel in the River Park Coalition that 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 the best use of land that has been violated by 100 years of uh, fossil fuel use, the best use for that land is to restore it to its natural state. Um, every mature tree has the ability to produce oxygen for two people per year, and it has the ability to absorb 48 pounds of carbon dioxide.
Oh, wow.
Uh, that land that used to be the golf driving range,
Mhm.
plus adjacent county land and other property in that area, that big triangle has enough area to support a forest of 5,000 trees. That means to produce oxygen for 10,000 people. Uh,
For uh, folks who may not be familiar with Long Beach, can you tell us what that area is, where that golf range used to be? I used to take lessons there a long time ago. But
yeah,
can you tell us where, like you mentioned Riverlink, what area is that? Like, give
yeah.
us the geographical boundaries.
So the geographical boundaries are: to the south is the 405 freeway,
Hmm.
to the west is the Los Angeles River, and to the east is the Blue Line train tracks. So that's basically the triangle.
Okay.
Following further north along the LA River is uh, the it's a beautiful piece of land called the Dominguez Gap Wetlands.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the area. It's an area that it's 18 acres of land. There's actually more, but the part that we were fighting for is an 18 acre piece of land that if we're not able to fight it successfully, will be developed into 18 acres of asphalt with gas guzzling RVs. And I know people need a place to store their toys, but there is a better use for that land. And instead of asphalt, we think it ought to be trees.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Like that's private property, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's interesting. I was about to ask you if that was private property, and someone just posted a comment, and it says, "Money and will, we doubled Admiral Kidd Park by declaring the Green Munster Industrial Park blight. We no longer have redevelopment and very few private property owners who want to give us their property." And so I was just about to ask you because I,
Yeah.
I remember when that happened here on the west side of Long Beach and the Green Munster. So from what I've read, basically it's already been decided that that's going to become, what did you say, a 18
An
space
RV parking lot.
our
Yeah.
RV parking lot. So is that like, is
Uh,
that a done deal? Like, is that
no,
like,
no, it isn't.
no? Okay.
We, the River Park Coalition, sued the owner of the land, the developer, and the city in to not to take over the land, but to actually uh, force the developer to do what they should have done at the beginning, which is an environmental impact report. We feel that there is ample evidence under AQMD, the Air Quality Management District, to warrant a full environmental impact report. When all of this comes to light in the course of the court proceedings, I suspect that it will be proven that they that uh, the mitigated negative declaration under which they approved this thing is not sufficient to address all the problems that are going to be exacerbated. We don't think that the developer ought to give us that piece of land. I mean, it would be nice. We don't
Hmm.
expect that to happen. It's not
Hmm.
reasonable. But we know that previous owners have attempted to sell it to the city, and the city has basically been negligent. They've ignored it, and they don't seem to have. The city doesn't seem to have uh, the will or the money when it comes to green space for Western Long Beach, but they do seem to have money for uh, you
Ship.
know
Oh,
all
I didn't
sorts
mean
of
to.
things on that's okay, all sorts of things on the east side. I mean, there was an email from the council member for the third district that mentioned at some point, I believe it was 6 million for duck pond improvements. I believe there were 1.5 to 3 million for a plastic turf for a soccer field in El Dorado Park,
In the fifth district, yes, yes.
and many other projects that you know we know that it's great to do improvements in parks. We support that. We know that maintenance for parks is important and it's expensive, but at some point there needs to be a set of priorities.
Hmm.
Acquiring land for the western part of Long Beach, it ought to be the highest priority. It was established as a priority decades ago, but the city has refused to follow up. So Parks and Recreation in their website has the master plan, and they indicate that they recognize how bad we are on the west side and that they need to improve it. But acknowledging it means nothing unless you actually do something. But instead, they continue. You can always defer maintenance. The land will not go away if the grass dies.
Hmm. Hmm.
But um, the opportunity to purchase the land for development, whether it's immediate or later on, that land, once it's gone, it's gone.
Okay, so I want to go back to where you mentioned the 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 IER, right?
EIR,
The
Environmental
EIR,
Impact
Environmental
Report.
Impact Report. Um, so a private owner to do certain type of developments, that's something that they're required to do before they move forward in big projects.
Uh, yeah, for certain projects such as this one, yes, you have to remember that this land uh, has been highly contaminated. In fact,
Uh-huh.
this land has approximately um, uh, 50 a 50-foot deep pit of what they describe as toothpaste consistency muck. It's basically oil residue, and it contains arsenic. It contains nasty stuff. And I know what the yeah. Excuse me. I'm trying to get an extension cord so that I can
So you don't your battery don't die on me.
so that I can
Uh-oh, I'm breaking up a little bit.
okay. So uh, we we think that um, um, we're not dissuaded by what people tell us. Well, if it's so contaminated, you can't build a park on it. You need to build an asphalt parking lot because that will make it better. It doesn't. There are a series of issues that come up with building, putting an asphalt cap on the land that are much too detailed, technically detailed to go into on this short amount of time.
Mhm.
But there is ample precedent throughout the United States and even here in Long Beach, such as in Davenport Park, uh, where parks can be successfully built on top of contaminated land.
Okay. So, well, Davenport, was that private owned property before it was turned into a park?
I believe it was. I
Okay.
don't know how it came to be, whether the city purchased it in some way. I don't know, but I
And the
know
reason,
that the city uh, has expressed interest in in the subject property, and I know that
Mhm.
they have that they've dropped the ball um, uh, at least once, probably more times. So
Okay. And the reason I ask is because I mean, I mean, we live in a capitalistic society, and people get to own and do pretty much, or should be able to do what they kind of want to do with things. Um, Yet at the
yes,
same time, when I think about the amount of money that they approved last night at the city council meeting to save the queen, I'm like, maybe they can buy that patch of dirt over there too. So
yeah, yeah.
So, a couple other things, and I was going to ask, like, what is our leadership? You said that this is, city leadership, and you mentioned Parks and Rec. What is their role in this process right now? Because I mean, you said that now that the River Park Coalition is suing what the city, the property owner, and the developer. Like, what happens now?
Well, now we go to court. We have our first coming up fairly soon. I think we need to establish the date, but it's coming up very quickly. And after that, it's a process that takes a long time. We might be in the court for who knows, a year, 2 years, whatever it takes. It's it's an important issue for all of Western Long Beach, and I should clarify that this is not the only. Um, it's not our only focus. We're not just about this piece of land. This piece of land is the one that is that it that holds priority for us because it's the one that's that's closest to being lost. Um,
Hmm.
but we've identified other pieces of land. We're in conversations with the county supervisor's office and the county flood control district for the use of a retention basin south of the Dominguez Gap wetlands. That's about 4 acres. We're also in conversations with the county and uh, with the council member for the 8th district for the development of the 11 acres that are in between the former golf driving range and the LA River. So that's 11 acres of county flood control district land. The, and uh, we're planning some actions around an additional, I think it's 20 acres just south of that, also former oil operators' land. We're and we've identified a lot of other parcels. You mentioned the lack of real estate, but actually the West does have real
Okay.
estate that is available. Some of it public, some of it private, and some of it belongs to public utilities. Like there's that huge strip of Southern California Edison right of way that bisects diagonally through the west side. There is the Terminal Island Freeway. There's a section of it, the northern sector of it,
Hmm.
that begins at Pacific Coast Highway and ends on Willow Street. So that's a 1 mile wide swath
Hmm.
of land immediate that you can't get any more west Long Beach than that.
Right, right. Uh-huh.
So that's something else that the city was started to look into it, and then as usual they dropped the ball for a number of reasons. We think it's important to pick up that ball again, and our job is to push it in any way possible. So we're looking at this and many other areas in along the Diesel Death Corridor. Good.
Oh, okay. Wow. How, one thing that keeps coming up is there's no money.
Well,
So how do we how do we fight against that? I mean, in the community, when they say, except we hear there's no money, but then you hear these other projects are going, 6 million of this and out of fake grass over here. Like how do we advocate, or because I like the different things keeps coming up, and even when I went through, went over by the green belt today, I'm like, does anybody care? Does anybody care?
yeah. Well, people do care. I'm not so sure about our leadership and whether they care or not, but we care. We For us it's essential. I mean, it's for us it's life. But um, there is always money for things that are considered luxury.
Hmm.
But for us, parks and open space are not uh, luxury; they are essential. They are life, and that's what we would hope to convince our leadership of.
So okay, so we're gonna still kind of on the money thing. I attended the Wrigley Association meeting the other night, and the director of public works was there.
Yes.
Interesting presentation. A lot of passive aggressiveness was going on. A lot of passiveness
Yes.
aggressiveness. But
Yes.
something that was said that kind of bothered me was this call out for community members to help find grants and write grants in order to take care of or secure or pay for or whatever for our park space or our green space.
Yeah.
Why is staff, city people who work for the city asking the community to do that? Like, does that speak to me? That made me like question the value of it or whatever. You were on that meeting as well. Is that
Yes.
normal? Is that
Well,
is that the norm? Because that caught me off guard.
yeah, yeah. You know, here's what caught us off guard. The Wrigley Greenbelt is exactly
Adjust your phone a little bit. You got low for a second.
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that any better?
It just seemed like maybe you're covering your microphone.
Okay. Okay. Um, so here's what happens with the Greenbelt. It didn't appear to be a priority for the city until the city basically gave away the part that people call the river park. It actually has a name. It's the Wrigley Heights North and Wrigley Heights South parks.
Can
That's
can
the
you
River
can you
Lake
give
plan.
a geographical boundaries for that as well
Yeah,
for
so
people?
it's the same thing that we discussed about before. But when the city decided to approve at the council hearing the development of that RV parking lot, all of a sudden they felt that they needed to give us something, so they picked up work on the Wrigley Greenbelt. The Wrigley
Hmm.
Greenbelt had been planned for many years,
Hmm.
starting in the mid '90s, and
Okay.
but they ignored it. They didn't do anything, even though they had an agreement with the county. It's county land, so they had an agreement with the
Oh.
county. They had a grant, but they just sat on it and did nothing until at the very last minute they decided, oh, we better give the people something, and so they started work on that project. Well, they they did they worked without having a permit. There's a it's county land. They can't go and destroy and dig and grade and do all sorts of stuff without a permit. Well, ultimately the county came back and told them, no, you can't do work without a permit. And so now their grants are about to run out, and it's not like it was a grant that was given to them yesterday. They've had it for a number of years,
How
maybe.
many years?
I
Do
I
you
you
know?
know I think it's like 10 years. I might be wrong, but it's a very long time. And they say, well, we are the bids kept coming in too high. That's what the public works director said on Monday night. And the fact is, when we first got wind of the destruction of trees in the Wrigley Greenbelt, we immediately wrote to the public works director, to the mayor's office, and to others, and said, "Look, we've got grant writers. This is with the River Park Coalition. We've got grant writers, we've got planners, architects, landscape architects, biologists, etc. We want to help you uh, uh, fix the plan so that you don't destroy as many trees, and we will help you uh, with everything else. We weren't asking for recognition. We weren't asking for a fee for anything. Uh, we just wanted to do our part as concerned neighbors to help the city accomplish the work without violating the law, which they
Okay,
were
so
doing at that point.
it was an offering from the
Yes,
community to assist in that
yes,
project. Okay, so
and
you said so this has been, like I said, there since the 90s, and
yeah,
then all of a sudden they just picked up. There was there any outreach to the community to
no.
say, hey, we're about to revive this? Like all of a sudden, like people just opened up their windows and the trees are being cut down.
Well, yeah. So they said, well, they did do community outreach, but what that consisted in is they posted some signs.
You're breaking up a little bit.
They put out
Uh-oh.
they put up
Wait, you
some.
repeat yourself because you broke up around they
I'm
posted.
sorry. Yeah. So they posted signs, and they put some
Uh-huh.
door hangers on the properties that were immediately adjacent to the Wrigley Greenbelt, which, by the way, is
Okay.
along DeForest Avenue between Willow Street and Warlow. Uh, so that's roughly the geographical boundary. Right immediately east of the right alongside the levee for the LA River. So uh, we wanted to do what we could to stop the destruction of that habitat. You know, mature trees along that area, and we knew that we could do it. We never got a response from the city in our offer to help,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately. Uh, and accept every response that we've received from the city, and as well as the comments that the public works director makes in public, such as on the Monday night meeting. They're uh, not very nice towards us. You know, they paint us as eternal complainers
Mhm.
and as anchors to this project. Well, you know, the city has been neglecting this area for decades, and all of a sudden they can't just come at the last minute and violate the city's own regulations as well as state and federal law for
Mhm.
the protection of habitat, and then say that we're that we're the ones that are being obstructive on this issue. So, anyhow, um, there is money out there. There is a lot of money out there for for this type of work, for providing park equity. You know, there's a lot. Ever since last year's protests, the issue of equity has risen to the surface.
Mhm.
You saw you know, the mayor and the council's equity, uh, uh, the reconciliation thing, and uh, with uh, why is it just empty talk? You know, I mean, we want them to put their money where their mouth is. We want them to act on it. It's you know, we can't just. It's not an issue of them saying nice words. We want the deeds to go along with the words, and we
Mhm.
don't see
Mhm.
any of that. You know how much this park, this Wrigley Greenbelt is. You know how much budget it has. It's like 1.6 million. I mean, that's
Oh
less
wow.
than the plastic turf for the soccer field, and they're complaining about money. You know, how much did they promise for the you know, for the Queen Mary, for that operator to handle the Queen Mary for the next few months? I can't remember, but you know,
It was a lot of money. It
yeah,
it was a lot of money.
you know, I mean, there is money. It's an issue of priorities,
Priorities.
and West Long Beach, North Long Beach, we have eternally uh, received. You know, we've pulled the short straw all the time.
Mhm. Um, th- wow. It seems like it's such a big issue, um, and so many different components involved. Like I didn't know until right now that the property, the river, park property, not river, the Greenbelt
Greenbelt.
property is county property.
Yes, yes.
Um, it would be hopefully, you know, the county is interceding in this matter. Like I said, it was kind of when I went, you know, I'm not an environmentalist, I'm not a arborist. I don't understand how all that works. But when I went to look at where the trees used to be, I know that there used to be trees there. I kind of felt like I was in a scene of Avatar. And I don't know if you watched the movie Avatar, and they were
I
like
did.
cutting down the trees and the trees were all connected to each other. That was kind of how I felt. Like I was like kind of hurting a little bit. Um but also, if you've ever gone hiking, and I know that's not a true hiking trail or whatever, but I'm like, well, they couldn't have just done it around the trees. and
Yeah.
and then listening to some of the things that were stated in that meeting the other night, where they were talking about, oh well, the non-native were removed, and the dead trees were removed. Well, I was looking at some tree stumps. They didn't look like they was dead to me, but I, like I said, but I don't know what I'm looking at. So um how can people get, if people want to learn, well, actually, you did share this with me, so let me actually, I have it. So if people want to learn more, is this the best place for them to go to the riverparkcoalition.org website? Is that the best place for
Um,
them to?
yeah. Actually, there's another one. I'm not sure if our latest email uh, to Public Works and to City Council is up on our River Park website, but it is
Mhm.
on the People of Long Beach website, which is polb.org.
POLB.
Yeah, People of Long Beach, polb.org.
POLB.org. People of Long Beach. Okay. So, and what can people find here on the People of Long
So,
Beach?
so they can find a list of questions that have been asked of Public Works, uh, that where we're asking them to, they held a community meeting. The only real outreach that they did for this project was on April 7th, after they had uh, demolished about 60% or more of the habitat in this area, and so at that community meeting, they said, we're going to respond to all the questions. There were about 40 questions that were asked by
Mhm.
the public. They only responded to two of them. Uh, and we have additional questions that came out of reading their latest update, which was dated May 7th. I don't know, as of yesterday, it was still up. I don't know if they've come up with anything else, but these are serious questions that address issues such as the permits, such as the tree
Okay.
trimming policy, uh, the preserving of habitat, etc. So that's one way to do it. Uh, and But the best way to see the destruction is to go and to visit the area. Either visiting the north sector, which is well, actually, to visiting from along the forest from about let's say 28th Street all the way to 34th Street, and to look at that and to see what is left of this formerly, very forested area, and then to look at what is left, which is from about 26th to 28th Street, which are trees that we did our best to salvage.
Mhm.
We went out there in the middle of the night and did a little bit of guerrilla action and painted out the red X's that had been put in.
You didn't you
Then,
didn't you didn't chain yourself to the tree and say you can't.
I promised I would do that if they cut any more. And then one day they came in and they cut them before, by the time a couple of us got out there, it was a done deal.
Guys, put tents out there. Y'all gotta do better. So, okay. So, quick question. So, if people want information around the Wrigley Greenbelt, they need to go to the people of the POLB.org, correct?
Yes, and that'll give all sorts of links. It'll give links to the city's web page for the
Mm-hmm.
project, and it will give links to the county website that deals with the permits that they haven't obtained,
Mm-hmm.
plus more information. And the
Okay.
city's link actually shows plans that uh, for the green belt. And hold on a second.
Okay. So, if you want River Park information, people need to go to
To the River Park
River Park
Coalition.
Coalition.
Yeah, make sure
So.
to put riverparkcoalition.org.
Okay, so if
Uh,
you're interested in learning more about the River Park Coalition, you can go to riverparkcoalition.org. Two separate things going on. Both
yes.
are both of them managed, or both of them are touched by public works, right? Or
No.
one of them is kind of moved on to the next level,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay. And
Right.
there's also another project that you says that people are advocating for, um that you all are advocating for in that area of the river park, and that's for like you said something about a butterfly sanctuary.
Oh yes, yes. Well, no, it's we're proposed. Okay, there's an area that is immediately south of the Dominguez Gap wetlands.
Hmm.
It's an overflow basin, uh, and uh, and it's between the Dominguez Gap wetlands and the Blue Line train
Hmm.
tracks,
Hmm. Hmm.
immediately east of the LA River.
Okay.
This is a 4 acre basin that isn't being used for anything other than overflow. We've
Okay.
discussed it with the county flood control district, with the county
Hmm.
supervisor, and we are suggesting a butterfly preserve. However, we are taking public suggestions about the precise use of that area. Maybe there is a better use
Okay.
than a butterfly preserve. It might be an active use. It
Hmm.
might be some different type of passive use. We're open to suggestions. We're going to be working with Council Member Austin's office
Hmm.
in the development of this area.
Okay.
We held an event last weekend. There will be future events at the site
Okay.
until we get it developed into something, and that's also riverparkcoalition.org.
Okay. So folks, so Carlos, when you get an opportunity, please like go on my page, post any information in the comments, or if you share it with me, I'll post it. Carlos has been notorious for being blocked by folks. So he I haven't been blocked yet, so y'all can watch Carlos on my page for y'all people who actually blocked him, which I think is kind of funny. But I definitely want to continue this conversation. There were like 5 other topic matters that I know that you've been touching or researching or learning about. So maybe we can continue this conversation. I'm definitely going to be paying attention to what's going on. I recently I went walking and did a photos at the Dominguez Gap wetlands for my birthday. So it was really exciting, and I got to see things that I had not seen for a while. Um, but so anyway, thank you, Carlos, for joining me today. This is definitely a conversation that needs to continue. Someone did just message me though about the people of longbeach.org. They did not see what you were referring to. So if you can ask your administrator to you can either send me a direct link or whatever needs to do to get that updated. Do you have any last words before we sign off? And I'm like, my brain is just clicking right now because there's so many questions that I have, but I guess we'll have to do this another day. Any last words?
Any time, Darlene. And sometimes I tend to ramble on and say much more than I should, where I could be more concise. So I will work on that, but so that we can pack more into our next session. But I'm open anytime, and if you go to the People of Long Beach webpage, polb.org, or the riverparkcoalition.org, and just send us a message there. We're also on Facebook on both People of Long Beach and River Park Coalition. The River Park Coalition group is a private group, but we let anybody in, even council members.
Well, again, thank you for your time and thank you for the context. And I like I said, I'm looking forward to learning more and figuring out ways to get involved in this. I mean, I know park space is important. I I don't even know if we're even properly. I mean, I know as a parent, I feel like I'm not properly utilizing park space. Part of it's been because of the pandemic. I'm a little scared to go out into the park and touch
Well,
anything. But so,
parks received a heck of a lot more use during the pandemic than before. And this is throughout the United States. It's
mhm,
really interesting. Here in California, and especially here in Long Beach, many parks were closed during the pandemic. But
mhm,
you have to keep in mind that Western and Northern Long Beach are the most dense areas
mhm,
of the city. We not only do we have more living units per acre, but we also have a higher level of housing overcrowding. That is,
mhm.
uh, we pack people into apartments because we can't afford to the rent otherwise, and so parks are critical. Parks
Mhm.
are an essential element to our infrastructure. It's not just like, people think infrastructure, okay, streets, sidewalks, and sewers. No, it's also parks, it's schools, and libraries, etc. So anyway, a
Well,
lot to.
I just added affordable housing to our conversation for
Oh
next time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
All
let's do
right.
that.
Well, you have a fabulous day. Actually, you hold on for just a moment after I in the broadcast. Thank you, people, for joining us. Watch us now, watch us later. If you're watching later, please put replay in the comments so that we know that you took the time to watch this. Again, it's Jerlene here to inform, engage, inspire. Hopefully, we made you laugh. Carlos and I actually, I think we're kind of mild today. We promised that we had some curse words, but we promised to not bring those in today's conversation. So anyway, everyone have a fabulous day, and thank you.
Thanks, Jardine.